A woman searching for meaning opens her home to a boy who has forgotten how to trust, unaware that his carefully hidden diary holds the truth that will bind or break them forever. Elena always believed her life would unfold in gentle, predictable chapters, yet the last few years had felt hollow. She woke, worked, cooked, cleaned, and tried not to notice the quiet pressing against the walls of her house. One evening, sitting alone at her kitchen table, she whispered, "There has to be more than this." The words felt like a confession, though no one was there to hear them. The next morning, she drove to the foster agency with a steady but nervous breath. "I'm ready," she told the coordinator, who studied her with a cautious smile. "You're sure you want an older child?" the woman asked. Elena nodded. "I just want someone who still needs a place." When they introduced her to Noah, he sat at the far end of the common room, shoulders tucked inward, eyes fixed on the floor as if guarding something fragile. Elena walked toward him. "Hi, Noah, I'm Elena." He gave a small nod. They sat together in silence. Finally, she murmured, "I know it's strange meeting someone new, but I'm here if you ever want to talk." Noah shifted slightly, then whispered, "I don't talk much." "That's okay," she said. "I don't mind quiet." When the visit ended, she told him softly, "I'll come back tomorrow." Noah looked up, hesitant. "People say that," he muttered. Elena paused. "Then let me be the one who means it." The next day, she returned exactly when she promised. Noah walked beside her to the car, clutching a small duffel bag. During the ride home, he stared out the window until he finally asked, "Do I have to call you something?" Elena shook her head. "Only if you want to. You can just say my name." He exhaled. "Okay." At the house, he lingered in the doorway. His eyes scanned every corner, cautious and alert. "Your room is upstairs," Elena said gently. "But explore first if you want." Noah hesitated. "Can I see the room?" "Of course." He walked up the steps slowly. When he saw the small, warm room, he stood in the center without touching anything. Elena asked, "Do you want help unpacking?" "No," he replied quickly. She nodded. "I'll be downstairs if you need me." Hours passed before he came down, moving quietly into the living room. Elena was reading. Without looking up, she said, "There you are." "Want dinner?" Noah shrugged. "Maybe. Is that a yes?" "Yeah." They ate in calm silence. At one point, Noah said, "This house is really quiet." Elena gave a small laugh. "It's been that way for a long time." He studied her as if trying to understand her loneliness. After dinner, he whispered, "Thank you for the food." "You're welcome," she said warmly. Over the next few days, routines formed. Noah woke early, always before Elena. He tiptoed through the hallway, careful not to make noise. Elena asked gentle questions, and though his answers stayed short, each response felt like trust growing one thin layer at a time. One afternoon, she noticed Noah jump when she accidentally dropped a spoon. His shoulders locked, breath tight. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I didn't mean to startle you." Noah kept his eyes on the floor. "It's fine." "It didn't look fine," she said gently. "It's okay to tell me if something scares you." "I'm not scared," he muttered, though his shaking hand said otherwise. Later that evening, Elena gathered laundry from his room. As she lifted a folded shirt, something slipped out a thin notebook with a faded blue cover. She picked it up. It felt worn, opened many times by small, uncertain hands. She didn't read it. She placed it on the dresser and finished the laundry. When Noah came upstairs and saw the notebook moved, he froze. "Did you touch that?" he asked, voice tight. "It fell when I picked up your shirt," Elena said calmly. "I didn't read it." Noah swallowed hard. "People read my stuff sometimes." "I won't," she promised. Not unless you want me to. He stared at her, then whispered, "It's just my drawings." And some thoughts. Elena nodded. Everyone needs a place to put their thoughts. That night, she sat in the living room while Noah hovered at the top of the stairs. "Elena?" He called softly. "Yes?" If someone keeps their thoughts in a book, does that mean they don't want to say them out loud? Elena considered. Sometimes it means they're not ready yet. Noah hesitated. If someone read it, would they think something's wrong with them? No, she said. They'd think that person is trying to understand their world. He didn't answer, but he came downstairs and sat across from her on the couch. They stayed like that for a long while, letting the quiet settle around them dot in the soft stillness of the room. Elena noticed how Noah kept his hands folded tightly, as if holding himself together. She spoke gently, hoping not to break the moment. "You don't have to rush anything here," she said. "You get to take your time." Noah's eyes flickered toward her, uncertain but curious. "Do people really get time?" he asked quietly. "Here you do," she replied, meaning every word, hoping he felt even a small piece of safety taking shape dot as the night deepened. Noah whispered, "Do you think people can change?" Elena looked at him gently. "I think people can heal, and healing can feel like changing." Noah nodded, trying to believe it dot in that moment. Elena realized the notebook wasn't just a diary. It was a doorway into a world Noah was still afraid to share. She wondered what memories lived between its pages, what fears shaped his silence, and how long it would take before he trusted her enough to let her in. But she felt something else too, a sense that this fragile beginning was more than she expected. And for the first time in years, the quiet in her house felt different. Not empty, but full of possibility. The first week passed in small, delicate steps. Elena tried not to push Noah into conversations he wasn't ready for, yet she watched him closely, learning the silent language of his habits. He slept with his door slightly open, kept his shoes lined up in perfect rows, and carried his backpack everywhere, even when he didn't need it. Some mornings, she found him sitting in the hallway before sunrise, fully dressed, waiting as if afraid someone might forget him. One night, she heard noises from the kitchen and found him standing near the window, staring outside into the dark. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked softly. He shook his head. "Storms are loud," he whispered, though the sky was clear. Elena didn't correct him. "You can sit with me if you want." He gave a small nod and followed her to the living room, curling up at the far end of the couch like someone expecting to be sent away at any moment. A few days later, as she prepared lunch, Noah surprised her with a question. "Do you like being alone?" he asked, voice quiet but steady. The question caught her off guard. "Sometimes," she said, "but not all the time." He looked down at his hands. "Do you like having someone else here now?" Elena paused, letting the moment breathe. "I do," she answered honestly. "I like having you here." Noah absorbed her words slowly, as if he wasn't used to belonging anywhere. Later that afternoon, he followed her into the backyard. "What was your house like when you were little?" he asked. Elena smiled faintly. "Loud. My brothers used to run around until my mother yelled at them to stop knocking things over." Noah's expression softened with curiosity. "Did you like it loud?" "Sometimes," she said, "but I like the quiet moments too. My dad used to sit with me on the porch at night. He always said minds settle better in soft air." Noah seemed to hold on to that sentence, storing it somewhere important. The shift between them was slow but real. Noah began asking small questions: what she liked to drink in the morning, whether she had any pets growing up, why the neighbor's dog barked at nothing. These questions felt like breadcrumbs of trust, scattered carefully but intentionally. One evening, while cooking dinner, Elena heard a thump behind her. Noah's backpack had slipped from the kitchen chair and fallen open. His diary slid across the floor, landing with its pages bent and exposed. Elena froze. Noah wasn't in the room. She knelt to pick it up, intending only to close it until she noticed a jagged, lonely sentence written in shaky pencil on the open page. If I disappear again, maybe no one will notice. Her stomach tightened. She whispered to herself, "Oh, Noah." She didn't want to invade his privacy, but something about those words felt like a silent cry left unanswered for too long. Her hand trembled as she read a little more. The entries weren't full stories, just fragments. Notes about nights spent hiding, moments when voices rose too fast, memories. He couldn't fully articulate. Some sentences didn't finish, trailing off like thoughts interrupted by fear. Then she found a page describing a closet he used to sleep in because it felt safer than the bed. Another line read, "Sometimes I pretend I'm invisible so nobody can get mad at me." Each word felt like a small wound he had carried quietly. The front door clicked. Noah stepped inside, saw the diary in her hands, and froze as if the world had stopped moving. His breath hitched, and fear flickered across his face. Why are you holding that?" he whispered. Elena rose slowly. "It fell when your bag dropped. I saw a line, and I got scared for you." Noah's eyes filled with panic. "You read it?" "A little," she said carefully. "Only what was open." "Noah, I'm so sorry." He shook his head rapidly. "You weren't supposed to see that. Those are just stupid thoughts." "I didn't mean it doesn't matter." "It does matter," she said gently. "It matters to me." He stepped back. "You're going to get tired of me now?" "People always..." "No," she interrupted softly. "I'm not going anywhere." But Noah couldn't hear that yet. He grabbed the diary from her hands, clutching it to his chest. "You shouldn't read things that don't belong to you." His voice cracked with hurt more than anger. Elena nodded. "You're right. I should have closed it and walked away. I made a mistake." Noah lowered his head, tears gathering but not falling. "You'll tell them I'm too much trouble?" he whispered. "You'll send me back." The words sank into her like stones. "Noah," she said, stepping closer but not touching him. "There's nothing in that diary that would ever make me want to send you away. Not one line." He didn't answer. He just held the notebook as if it were the last part of himself he still had control over. For the rest of the evening, he stayed in his room, barely speaking. Elena sat on the hallway floor outside his door for a long time, not knocking, just waiting in case he needed to know she hadn't left. At one point, he whispered from inside, "Why did you have to read it?" Elena kept her voice soft. "Because I care about you, and because I saw something that scared me. I'm sorry I didn't handle it better." There was a long silence. Then Noah said, "People always want to know things so they can decide if they want to keep you." Elena closed her eyes, heart aching. "I don't need to decide. I already want you here." She heard him shift, but he didn't open the door. When she finally rose to go to her room, she whispered, "I'm right down the hall if you need me." That night, she barely slept. She thought about the trembling handwriting, the loneliness between the lines, the fear Noah carried like a shadow. She also thought about how fragile trust could be light enough to lift someone or break at the slightest touch. By morning, Noah came downstairs wearing the same guarded expression he'd arrived with on the first day. He sat at the table quietly. After a long moment, he said, "I don't want to talk about it." Elena nodded. "Okay, we don't have to. But I'm here when you're ready." Noah didn't look at her, but his voice softened slightly. "I just don't want you to give up on me." Elena felt her throat tighten. "I won't, Noah. Not now. Not ever." And for the first time since the diary fell open, he believed her just enough to stay at the table, hands steady, breathing even. As a new and difficult chapter began to unfold between them, for the next few days, Noah stayed quieter than before, moving through the house like a shadow, trying not to disturb the air. Elena didn't push him. She made breakfast, left space beside her on the couch, and kept her tone warm but gentle. Still, she could feel the distance he had put between them thin, but heavy enough to change the rhythm of the house. One afternoon, Noah sat at the dining table drawing small shapes in the corner of a paper. Elena approached slowly. "Can I sit with you?" she asked. He shrugged, which she took as a yes. They sat quietly for a few minutes before Noah murmured, "People always say sorry." Elena looked at him. "Sometimes they mean it." Noah's pencil paused. "It doesn't fix anything." "No," she said softly. "It doesn't fix the past, but it can help build something better." He didn't respond, but the line of his shoulders softened slightly. Later that evening, as the sky turned pale orange, Noah stood by the window. "Were you mad at me?" he asked suddenly. Elena turned from the stove. "Mad? No. Why would I be?" "Because I got upset," he whispered. "Because I didn't let you read it." She stirred the pot gently, keeping her voice steady. "Noah, you're allowed to have feelings. And you're allowed to have privacy." He studied her as if waiting for the hidden condition. "Other people didn't think that." "I'm not other people," she said quietly. For the first time since the diary incident, Noah sat close to her on the couch. He didn't speak, but he leaned against the pillow near her side, as if trying to understand how closeness worked when it wasn't forced. The quiet felt different, warmer, intentional. 2 days later, he surprised her by knocking on her bedroom door in the morning. "Can we go somewhere?" he asked. "Anywhere." Elena nodded, slipping on her shoes. "Let's go." They drove to the lakeside park where Elena used to sit with her father. The air smelled like pine, and the water shimmered in the light. Noah stepped onto the dock carefully. "It's peaceful," he whispered. Elena smiled. "I used to come here when I needed to breathe." They sat together, legs dangling over the edge. After a long stretch of silence, Noah spoke, so quietly she almost missed it. "I don't understand why you chose me." Elena looked at him gently. "Because something in your eyes reminded me of myself." Noah frowned. "You're not like me." "Maybe not," she said. "But I know what it feels like to think you're hard to love." Noah's breath trembled. "I'm not normal. Normal isn't real," she replied softly. "People just pretend it is." He stared at the lake for a long time before whispering, "In my diary, I said things I don't want anyone to hear." "I know," Elena said. "And you don't have to share them until you want to." "Or ever," Noah swallowed. "What if you don't like what I say?" "I'll listen," she said. "That's all." He nodded, though the worry didn't disappear entirely. They stayed at the lake until the wind grew colder. On the way home, Noah asked, "Do you think I can ever be okay?" Elena looked at him with self-certainty. "Yes, not because you need to change, but because you deserve peace." That evening, while Elena read in the living room, Noah appeared at the edge of the doorway. "Elena," he whispered, "can I tell you something?" She closed her book. "Of course." He sat across from her, knees drawn up, hands clasped tightly. "I didn't think I'd stay here long," he said. "I thought maybe a week, maybe 2. And now?" she asked gently. Noah looked away. "I don't know. I want to believe you won't give up. But when things get bad, people always change their minds." Elena leaned forward slightly. "I won't change mine." Noah's voice cracked. "But you read the diary. You saw the bad parts." "I saw a hurting child," she said, "not a bad one." His eyes glistened, but he blinked quickly, fighting the tears. "If I tell you things, will it make you scared of me?" "No," she said. "It'll help me understand you." Slowly, with halting breaths, Noah began sharing fragments. He told her about the house where doors slammed too hard, the place where he slept on the floor because he thought he didn't deserve the bed, the nights he hid in a closet because shouting meant danger. Elena listened without interrupting, letting the weight of his memories rest gently between them. At one point, his voice grew so small she could barely hear it. Sometimes, I think I'm the reason people get tired. Elena shook her head. You were a child in pain. That's not being a burden. That's being brave. Noah stared at her as if the word brave felt too big to belong to him. I'm not brave, he whispered. I'm scared all the time. Being scared and still surviving, she said softly, is its own kind of courage. His lips trembled. I don't want to go back to being invisible. You won't, she promised, but the moment the conversation ended, Noah's breathing shifted. His eyes darted around, his hands shook, and his chest rose too fast. Elena recognized the signs of panic. She moved slowly toward him, keeping her distance. I'm here, she whispered. Just breathe. I can't, he choked out. I can't. You're safe, she murmured. He slid to the floor, gripping his knees. Elena knelt a few feet away, not touching him but anchoring him with steady words. In and out, she said softly. You're not alone. I'm right here. It took several minutes for his breath to even out. When his hands finally relaxed, Elena asked, Can I come closer? Noah nodded shakily. She sat beside him, leaving him space but offering warmth. Noah leaned slightly in her direction, just enough to show he trusted her presence. After a long, quiet stretch, he whispered, Do panic attacks make you think less of me? No, she said. They make me think you've lived through too much alone. He looked down. I don't want to be too much. Elena shook her head gently. You're not too much. You're a child who deserves more love than you've ever been given. Noah exhaled a trembling breath. I'm trying. I know, she said, and that's enough. That night, he didn't sit in the hallway. He slept with his door slightly open, but for the first time, he whispered a soft goodnight before going to bed. It was small, but Elena felt the shift. Trust was growing, not easily, not quickly, but honestly, their journey was far from finished, but the quiet distance between them had changed. And in its place, something fragile and hopeful had begun to grow. Winter settled in slowly, softening the edges of the neighborhood with cold air and quiet nights. Inside the house, life began to take on a gentle rhythm. Elena woke early to make tea, and Noah eventually wandered in, still sleepy, rubbing his eyes. At first he would sit across the table, silent and cautious, but as the days passed, he began sitting closer, sometimes leaning his shoulder against the chair next to hers. Small changes, but meaningful ones. One morning, as snow drifted outside, Noah spoke without looking up. I wrote something last night, he said quietly. Elena set her cup down. In your diary? He nodded. It wasn't bad this time, just thinking. Elena smiled softly. That's good. Noah hesitated. Do you want to hear it? She paused, making sure he wasn't offering out of pressure or fear. Only if you want to share. Noah opened the diary, flipping past darker pages until he found a fresh one. I wrote that the house feels different now, he whispered. It feels like someone wants me here. Elena's breath caught. I do want you here, she said. Noah closed the notebook, holding it like something precious. I know. I'm starting to believe that. In the following weeks, they built simple routines that made the house feel warmer. They took evening walks where Noah asked her what clouds reminded her of, and she asked him what he noticed first when he woke up. Inside, they read quietly in the living room, sometimes sharing blankets when the heater rattled. When Noah laughed soft but real, it felt like the house exhaled with him. One afternoon, Elena received a voicemail from the social worker. Just a routine check-in, she told Noah, but the moment she mentioned it, he froze. Are they coming here? He asked, voice tight. Probably, she said. They just want to see how you're doing. Noah shook his head quickly, breath sharpening. No, no, no. That means they think something's wrong. They're going to move me again. Noah, she said gently, they're just doing their job. I don't want to pack again, he whispered, hugging his arms. I don't want to go. Elena stepped closer, carefully placing a hand near his on the table, not touching unless he reached first. You're not going anywhere. I'm not letting that happen. Noah's eyes filled. But they can make you send me back. Elena shook her head firmly. I'll fight for you, hard. You're not temporary. He stared at her as if the words were impossible, then whispered, Promise? Promise, she said without hesitation. On the day of the visit, Noah paced the hallway, clutching the diary. Should I hide it? He asked. You can keep it with you, Elena said. You don't have to show them anything you don't want to. When the doorbell rang, Noah flinched. Elena rested a hand near his shoulder. You're safe, she whispered. The social worker stepped inside with a warm smile. Noah, you look taller already, she teased. He didn't laugh, but he didn't run either. She asked gentle questions about school, meals, sleep, routines. Noah answered quietly, glancing at Elena for reassurance. When the conversation shifted to adoption possibilities, Noah's breath hitched. Adoption? He whispered. Is that real? Elena knelt beside him so he could see her face clearly. Yes, I'm applying. I want you to stay with me permanently. The room went still. Noah stared at her, searching for any sign of uncertainty. You mean forever? He asked. Forever, she said. His hands shook as he held the diary tighter, but he didn't back away. One slow tear slid down his cheek, and he wiped it quickly, embarrassed. Okay, he whispered. Okay. After the meeting, Noah sat on the couch, staring at the floor. I didn't think anyone would want all of me, he said softly. Elena sat beside him, leaving gentle space. All of you is exactly who I want. Noah blinked, confused by the unconditional nature of that sentence. Even the parts that get scared? Especially those, she said. That night, he knocked on her door gently. Can I read something to you? He asked. Elena nodded and followed him to the living room. He opened his diary to a page near the middle one she had not seen. I wrote this a long time ago, he said, fingers trembling. It's the first time I want someone else to know. He took a breath and read. I used to think my heart was small, like it didn't have enough room to hold anything good. But sometimes I pretend someone tells me I'm not too much. I pretend they stay. He stopped, swallowing hard. Elena felt tears sting her eyes. That's beautiful, Noah. He closed the diary gently. I don't have to pretend now. As the adoption process moved forward, Noah seemed lighter, though still watchful. He began writing new entries, ones he didn't hide as fiercely. Sometimes he shared them, sometimes he kept them private. But he no longer wrote about disappearing. On the morning of the final meeting, Noah dressed slowly, adjusting his shirt twice. Do I have to say anything? He asked nervously. Only if you want to, Elena said. All you have to do is be you. Before they left, Noah walked to his room and came back holding the diary. He placed it gently into Elena's hands. You can read it if you want, he whispered. All of it. I'm not scared anymore. Elena touched the cover softly. Thank you, but I'll only read it when you want me to. Noah nodded. Maybe later, but I want you to know. You don't need permission to know my heart anymore. In the quiet office downtown, papers were signed, hands were shaken, and Noah officially became hers. When they stepped outside, The winter light felt brighter than usual. Noah reached for her hand, not hesitantly, not halfway, but fully, and held it as if grounding himself in a truth he'd finally allowed to become real. "Can we go home now?" he asked. Elena smiled. "Let's go home." As they walked toward the car, Noah whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me." Elena squeezed his hand gently. "Thank you for letting me love you." And for the first time, Noah didn't look away. He simply nodded, breathing in the cold air, knowing he belonged somewhere at last. Their future wasn't perfect, but it was theirs, built not from fear, but from a fragile honesty given room to grow into something strong. Noah settled into the rhythm of a life he never imagined could be his. The diary, once a secret shield, became a bridge between him and Elena, a testament to the courage it takes to trust. Their house, once quiet and lonely, now held laughter that didn't scare him, warmth that didn't demand perfection, and small moments that reminded him every day he belonged. Elena watched him grow slowly, not just in stature, but in confidence, hope, and the ability to let love in without fear. She realized that adopting Noah didn't just change his life, it reshaped hers. The loneliness that had shadowed her years was replaced with purpose, connection, and a bond that felt unbreakable. Together, they learned that healing isn't linear, but that with patience, honesty, and steady presence, even the most fragile hearts can feel safe. Their story ended not with perfection, but with a quiet, enduring triumph. Two souls choosing each other and finding home in the process. And for anyone reading their story, it's a reminder. Sometimes the smallest gestures of care and patience can transform lives. Choosing love, even when it feels uncertain, can create a place where belonging finally feels real.